Hello, glad to see you on my channel. I really value it. And today I want to share with you a wonderful story. It's a dramatic story that will come as a total shock to everybody. It is a really amazing story. So enjoy watching it.
Ariana never knew or guessed how her life would turn out. She grew up in an ordinary family with a mother and father, both ordinary people. She went to kindergarten, then to school, and after that she entered the technical college. Ariana, what do you study there all the time? Asked her friend, with whom they lived together in the dormitory. You should study a little too, she reproached her. Well, we are not given our youth to spend it sitting behind the textbooks, replied the neighbor cheerfully. Well, if you think so, Ariana agreed with her and continued to study. Not to say she knew everything well, her grades were average, but if she didn't read and study, she wouldn't have. Once Ariana agreed to go for a walk with her neighbor. It was spring, it was sunny outside, everything was beginning to bloom, and the girls were in the same mood. Oh, we have a new girl in the company, said one of the guys. Yes, this is Ariana, my roommate, introduced her girlfriend. And I'm Max, approached her the one who first noticed her. Ariana was very shy. She had never socialized before, much less dated boys. The guy sat down next to her. It just made her dizzy. That afternoon, and then the evening, they sat for a long time just in the park. Max tried to woo. The girl noticed it. She was pleased. Well, we'll probably go home. Got up from her seat, the one who'd brought her here today. I'll walk Ariana home myself, Max said then. It's on the way. We're in the same room, said her friend. So what? There are so many suitors sitting there. Take anyone and go, he showed her. Okay, she seemed offended. Why did you do that? Ariana asked him as they walked away from everyone. I really liked you. I wanted to hang out with you. He didn't bullshit her. Good. She blushed a little because she liked the guy too. Ariana had never imagined what it could be like to see a man like that and disappear. Maybe because it was the first time, or maybe for some other reason. They were walking through the evening streets, and Max didn't take the shortcut. He took a detour. We have to be there in time for closing, she warned him. I know, he smiled. They walked on in silence, but not for long. Tell me something about yourself, the boy asked her. What was it? Ariana immediately imagined that she had to start with her childhood, her parents, her school. What you're into, how you live, what you dream about. Max put her on the right track. Oh, you mean that? She was laughing. Yeah, what are you talking about? Looked at her. Nothing, she smiled again, imagining how she would have started now from time immemorial. Well, I'm ready to listen, the boy hurried. I have nothing to say. I graduated high school, came here, and that's it, I'm studying. She was laughing now. Well, what do you like? Drawing, singing, dancing? He didn't know why he asked, but for some reason he wanted to know. I don't know, no main hobby. A little bit of everything, she shrugged. Ariana used to draw, and she even liked it. But when she got in and started studying, she gave it up. Her easel that her parents had given her was still standing while lying around. I see. So we'll look for something we both like, he told her. They reached the dormitory, said goodbye, and agreed to meet the next day. Ariana went up to her room. The roommate was already here. She was lying on the bed, facing the wall. Are you offended? The girl asked her, but she didn't even turn around. Ariana shrugged, undressed, turned off the light, and lay down too. Tonight, she dreamed about Max. For some reason, the girl thought that God had sent him to her, that he was her destiny. The next day, she didn't want to think about her studies. She dreamed about her new acquaintance. She liked him so much. Her neighbor never spoke to her. Ariana didn't understand what she had done to make her so angry for so long. When the girl was leaving the technical school, she saw that Max was already waiting for her. I didn't think you would come here, she approached him. I decided not to wait for anything and immediately invite you. He hugged her with one arm, and the young people walked down the sidewalk. And where are we going? Decided to ask the girl. You'll find out soon, he spoke enigmatically. Good, the girl liked surprises. She realized that she needed to prepare for her exams, and in general, for the lessons that were assigned. But next to him, Ariana didn't think about anything else. She didn't need anything, just to be together with this young man. They came to a small restaurant, sat down at a table. Max ordered something unpretentious because he realized that the girl, after studying, hungry. First the guy and the girl had a little snack, and then went to talk. What only they didn't talk about today. I feel like I've known you all my life, Max said to Ariana. I have the same feeling, and it was only the second day of their acquaintance. Today the guy walked her to her dormitory, and they never parted again. He came to pick her up every day, or they met in the park. How grateful the girl was to her roommate for taking her out that night. When the vacation started, Ariana took Max to meet her parents. Wow, you sent her off to get her diploma, but you brought a fiancé, her father told her when they met and laughed. Yes, meet Max. This is Max, and we love each other very much, she said and looked at the young man. At first the parents as well as the young men were a little shy. Mom asked if they were going to sleep together or separately. Ariana blushed and said separately, but Max said they were adults. They could sleep next to each other. The woman then appreciated that the guy could decide things. Would you like me to show you how I cook dolma? Max asked once. Of course, I have never even heard of such a dish, the father was surprised. So Max took all the ingredients and started cooking. He tried so hard that it was funny for Ariana to watch him. So it's practically our stuffed cabbage, only smaller and not in cabbage, her mom wondered then. You could say that, the young man nodded his head. The boy showed them many other things that no one knew. The father learned new things for himself and praised his daughter for choosing a wonderful guy. They spent almost half of the vacation visiting her, and then they had to go back because school was starting. Why don't you move in with me? Max asked her when she was getting ready to move back into the dorm in early September. Wouldn't I embarrass you? She looked at him and realized that he was definitely her other half. What are you talking about? He took her by the waist and pulled her to him. Ariana decided she had nothing to think about. They had been together all summer, so now she just stayed, and that was it. Now the girl went straight from the apartment to the technical school. It was convenient because it only took a few minutes to walk. Previously, from the dormitory, even if you go yards, it took 15 minutes, and now it was only 5. She was so happy to have such a reliable and beloved person with her, and she was afraid of only one thing, to lose him. Every evening Max arranged some surprise for the girl. She loved it so much that she was already waiting for it. And today, they had dinner, then went to the room, watched a little TV. Max went to the light switch. The light in the room went out. That was it. She asked him a question. And what else? Did not understand the guy. What about the surprise? I'm so used to them already. Though it was dark, Ariana looked in his direction. Will you marry me? The guy asked her. Max, it's not done that way at all, she laughed. What does it matter if there is love between two people, the way it is done? He started kissing her. Do you have a ring? She wasn't begging, she was just asking. Of course, he rummaged his hand under her pillow and pulled something out. It was dark in the room, so he couldn't see. Why is it there? Ariana wondered again. Wanted you to find it in the morning. Still the same sans selenium, he told her. I agree, she hugged him, and it seemed to Max that she was crying. It was settled then, he hugged her tighter, and so they fell asleep. The next day, Ariana called her parents. The guy didn't have them. Told them she was getting married. What her father offered her, but Ariana refused it all. She had no money of her own, and it was inconvenient to spend other people's money. Then they agreed that the daughter would tell them the date when the event would take place, and then they would come. At the registry office, they were assigned a day. The woman who accepted the application in general offered to sign in a week, but the young refused because the girl's relatives would not have time to come. "Aren't you going to call your friends?" Ariana asked Max. "Do you want to?" He was ready to do anything for her. No, she was just asking. She felt bad that he was talking to them and wouldn't invite them to the wedding. That was it, so it would be as they decided. He kissed her again, and again, and again. It was decided not to buy a dress. Max had a suit, so the costs were minimal. "Congratulations," said the mother and father when the young put their signatures. "Thank you," they hugged. "So, that's it. You took our daughter from us?" The father shook Max's hand. "Yes, you are not the only ones to be happy." He looked at his wife and was happy. He could not even imagine before that he could see this diamond among the crowd, but now she was next to him, and he was happy immensely. After the registry office, it was decided to go to a restaurant and a little to celebrate the event. After all, that was the birth of a new family. Parents were also not against it. If they were given the will, they would have thrown a grand feast. The relatives spent the night at the young people's house because there was nowhere else to go. "It's all right," they said, "as long as we're cramped." And in the morning, Ariana's parents went home. From that moment, she began her real adult life. In May, Max and Ariana were to graduate. They were so happy about it, because then they wanted to get a job, have a baby, and do many other things. But all this was not destined to come true. Max received a summons. "I thought you had already." The girl looked at him confused. She did not want to part with the man who had become everything for her, love, and life. No, he shook his head. He himself was very offended by it, because he also did not want to part. "Well, that's all right. I'll wait for you, and I think you believe I will." Ariana wanted to cry, but she held on. With tears, she would only show the guy how hurt and sad she was, and she didn't want him thinking about that right now. "It's going to be okay, Max," as if he was supporting not only her, but himself as well. He was holding on as best he could too. He didn't want to hurt her. Now he had to go through medical exams and other procedures, and then he would leave. Ariana was so afraid of this day, but she couldn't help it. It was fast approaching. And now, they were on the platform. She was crying. He was crying too, though he didn't want to show it. "I love you," his wife whispered into his chest. "And I you." He leaned over and did the same into her hair. Their hands parted. He climbed into the wagon and waved she to him. This time was the last time Ariana saw her lover. He left and she went home. She didn't feel like doing anything at all for a week. And then she got her first letter. Max wrote that they were in boot camp. Everything was fine. Ariana answered him, she wrote, and she didn't have enough lines to tell him everything, how much love she had for him. Several months passed. All this time the young people corresponded, but for a while the letters stopped. Before that, they wrote almost every day, and now it had been almost 2 weeks. There was nothing. And then finally, there it was, the long-awaited letter, in which Max wrote that he was being sent to a hot spot, and most likely there would be no letters yet. Ariana cried and pressed the paper against her. Well, how could it be? She couldn't understand. The girl just cried all day after that, but 3 weeks later she had to receive worse news. The military enlistment office came to her. Her heart sank into her heels. She looked at the man in uniform and realized he wasn't bringing her good news. "Your husband died a brave death." She heard the words as if through absorbent cotton. She didn't question anything, didn't say anything, just settled back against the wall. Then there was the lineup, the funeral, the honor guard. But Ariana barely remembers any of that either. Her parents were there to support. Unfortunately, there was nothing they could do for their daughter. "Thank you for everything. You can go home," sat the grief-stricken girl and said to her father and mother. She didn't want to see or hear from anyone right now. And no amount of condolences or anything else would save her, much less bring back her loved one. Are you sure you can handle it? Her father came up to her. He loved his daughter and wished her well. They had already offered her to move in with them, but she had flatly refused. Yeah, she shook her head. And why ask that? You can handle it. You can't handle it. It just so happens. He's gone and she needs to accept it. The man and woman saw fit to leave their daughter alone. They realized how hard it was for her right now, so they quietly packed up and left. How could it be? Ariana looked at Max's picture. Why did you leave me? You promised to come back. You said that everything would be fine, and you didn't do it. She cried harder and harder. They had been together, just nothing, and now he was gone altogether. He had left her alone. Ariana decided to stay in this apartment, and even though everything reminded her of her lover, it made her feel better. She realized that she had to go out to work, because she didn't want to go to her parents, much less ask them for help. And then, all the time walking and talking to herself was disgusting. She had to do something. Hello. She began to go to different stores and asked if anyone needed a salesman. But no one would take her on, mostly because of her lack of experience and seniority. What am I supposed to do? She didn't understand. Ariana sat on the couch at home, crying and turning to herself again. She had dinner and looked at the newspaper. In the advertisements, she saw that a large firm needed a cleaner. Anything was suitable now. Why, I don't need much. This will do for now, she decided to herself. In the morning, she called the phone number that was listed at the end of the ad. Yes, come in, they told her on the phone. It turns out you don't need any experience to go to work as a technician, she said to herself in the mirror. Ariana put on her usual dress and left the house. The walk wasn't very close, so she timed it just in case. Good afternoon. I called today about the cleaning lady. She walked into the reception area. Yes, come in, they're waiting for you, the receptionist pointed to the door. Ariana walked through. A middle-aged man was sitting at the desk. He saw the girl and smiled. After that, he told her the front of the job and sent her to HR to make it official. Thank you, I won't let you down. Ariana walked away from him, firmly convinced that she could handle all the difficulties, no matter how hard they might be. There was a silver lining. The hard work would take her mind off Max. Can I congratulate you? The secretary asked her. Yes, Ariana smiled modestly. She had been offered a salary that she would have gotten less as a salesperson. Of course, the work was physical, but Ariana did not calm herself down. She would try, she should succeed. The girl gave her documents, and the next day she had to start work. And today, she went home to think it over. There was something new and unknown ahead. Billy, where are you? Shouted to the boy's father. He had been waiting for him for several minutes, the boy said now, but he was stuck for a long time. Yes, here I am, now, ran from his room, young man. How long can I wait for you? The man had been ready for a long time. Fishing rods, boots, bait, and everything else. Couldn't find a net. He showed him the fishing tackle. I see. Let's go, smiled Dad. He was pleased that the guy is not just for interest with him and understands something. He and his son were going to go fishing together for a long time. And so, today the man had a day off, or rather to say, a little free time. They went behind the house. There was no need to go anywhere, because the pond was right behind their vegetable garden. It was very convenient, because a pond was not a luxury, it was just what they needed for recreation. When Billy's father was young, he dreamed of having his own house with a fish pond. And when he had finished his schooling, he started his own business. After that, when the business began to bring a good income, he bought a house with a plot of land from some grandmother and began to improve it. First, he started on the house, which was a blue dream. During the construction, he went to the store with building materials, and there he met a pretty girl who was young and free. Shall we get acquainted? Then the man asked her. He had long paid attention to her, and now he dared. Why not? She immediately began to make eyes at him, because the man was prominent, and it was immediately clear that he had money. "Then I invite you to the restaurant tonight," he simply said to the girl, and that's how Billy's parents met. First they had dinner, and then together with his girlfriend, and later with his wife. The man finished the house and started to work on the plot. At first, some buildings appeared. There was a bathhouse, sauna, even an indoor swimming pool, as well as various sheds, chicken coops, aviaries, and more. And so, when everything was already ready, the owner of the house decided to do the pond. Good, the land was still there. It took a long time, but he managed to do it. He made a large pond where he launched fish. And when his wife got pregnant, the husband was happy that with his son will go on a real fishing trip, whenever it suits him. And today was the day. "Did you bring everything with you?" Billy asked his father. The boy worried about it all the time. Of course, he grinned. He liked swimming with his son. They didn't spend much time together, so at least they could talk, see how things were going. "Who will row?" asked the man, because he wanted his son not to feel superfluous. "Come on, I'll do it first, and when I get tired, you'll take over," the boy rejoiced. Agreed. They got into the boat and swam to the middle of the pond, which was not so small. Billy came into the family, and as soon as he began to understand, knew that nothing forbidden in this life would be for him. As a child, he had a lot of toys. Yes, such that some children did not even know about. He went to an ordinary kindergarten because there was no other, but everyone envied him there. "Can I have a party tonight?" he asked his parents. At that moment, he was only 10 years old. The first time he was allowed to do it, then Billy began to repeat it very often. And when he turned 13, he and his friends began to gather in the sauna. Later, girls joined them. The father had nothing to spare for his only son. He was ready to buy and let him do whatever he asked. And Billy himself knew that he had everything he wanted, so he took advantage of his father's kindness. "So, son, where are you going to go after high school?" his father asked him when he was in the 11th grade. "Is it obligatory?" The boy did not understand why you cannot buy a diploma. "Look, I can do anything for you, but a bought diploma is the last thing." The man did not approve of the idea. "Okay," Billy stretched out. He didn't want to do it so badly, but he had to do what Dad said. "Okay, I can make concessions for you. You get in, and I'll take you to work for me." He looked at him. "But how will I study?" He didn't understand. "There are correspondence courses." The father hugged his son. "Thank you at least for that." The boy was happy. "But full-time you'll still study a little." Dad wanted the boy to feel what it was like. That was the end of their conversation. They had to finish school. By his senior year, Billy had gotten so cocky that he didn't listen to anyone or pay attention to anyone. He obeyed and did everything his father said, and no one else, only he was an authority. "Will you come to my sauna tonight?" He could approach any girl in class or on the street. She could be someone he didn't know at all. No, they'd turn him away. "How about this?" He'd show them a few bills. "You won't tell anyone, will you?" They whispered and looked around. "What are you, a grave?" He covered his mouth with his hand, though he didn't need to, because all those girls were one-night stands. After that, he just forgot them. By the time the guy started working for his father, he had no principles left at all. He did what he wanted. "Hello," he entered the office. "Good morning," looked at him those who sat there. But he didn't have time to say anything before his father's assistant walked into the office and told him to come into his office. "Billy, it's time to get serious." He looked sternly at his son. "Okay, what do you need to do?" In front of his father, his knees were shaking a little. "Nothing, for now," corrected the chief. Then why all this talk? Didn't understand Billy. To speak respectfully to the employees, not to be rude to anyone, not to insult. The father wagged his finger at him, the boss. "I understand everything. I'll behave like a silk, he promised. I believe you, stood up, and shook hands with his son's subordinate father. The one left the office and went to where he had just come from. Hello again, he said hello to his colleagues. They looked at him like an idiot and continued working. We'll see who's in charge, the young man said in a low voice and took his seat at the table. He only had a rough idea of what people did here, so for now he just sat and stared at the instructions. In a short time, the young man had made friends with some of the people who worked here. Now they could linger in the evenings, talking, and later, not only that. Son, of course, I understand that at work it is important to have a friend, but I think you are abusing, his father once told him. Come on, these people are friends with me honestly, not for something, he said to him. Okay, but you drink in the workplace, the boss said directly what he meant. What do you think? A little relaxed. What, you can't? Sniggered the son. A little you can, but last time, remember what you left behind. I didn't want to push, but that's how it worked, father. Well, we'll be more careful from now on, promised the boy, and that was the end of the conversation. But not 2 months after that, he gathered his friends again after work. Can we go somewhere? One of them asked. Why would we do that when we can have fun here, especially since we have everything for that? He took out a bottle of expensive alcohol from the table. Okay, you got it here, so here, said the colleagues. After that, unrestrained fun began. Young people drank, shouted. The music played loudly, but it did not bother anyone. Is it true that your father lets you do everything? Asked one of those who were here. Are you jealous? Billy answered the question with a sneer. No, I was just asking. He took offense, stood up, took his jacket, and went to the door. I guess I'll go too. The other one got up too. You're just going to leave me here alone? Lily didn't understand. Yes, it's time to go home, was the reply of the one who had already gone out of the door. Well, screw you, though Billy had promised his father, but now he couldn't help sending his comrades. He was left alone in the study, poured himself another bottle, drank, didn't know what to do next, decided to go somewhere to relax. Only he opened the door of the office as he ran into a girl. She was with a mop and a bucket. What are you doing here? He asked her in a drunken voice and staggered back. I thought no one was here. I came to clean the office. She heard what was going on, so she stayed a little longer. She thought, looking at Billy from head to toe. I'll be off then, since you're still here. She turned around. Have a drink with me. He offered her a drink. No, she wanted to leave, but he held her hand tightly. What do you mean no? No one refuses me in this life. He furrowed his brow. Then I'll be the first. She wrenched her hand away and walked down the hall. Billy caught up with her in 2 strides, gagged her, and shoved her into the back room. What's that for? The girl resisted. I just want to. He unbuttoned his pants. He couldn't do it, he panted. And you don't care about other people's opinion. She stood in the corner, unable to move. Shut up. He finally got what he couldn't do for so long. The girl cried out. Billy fumbled for her mouth and clamped it shut, and immediately got the hardest bite. Oh, he hit her. She passed out. The young man did everything already in complete silence. He wheezed, breathed deeply, finally collapsed. After that, he got up, shook himself off, got out, and walked towards the exit. Are you staying out late again tonight? The guard on the first floor asked him. You don't have to worry about that, still pissed off at Billy. He hailed a cab, got in, and calmly drove home. He didn't even once think about what might become of the poor thing he'd left in the back room. Son, what's the matter with you? His mother ran up to him as he entered the house. Leave me alone, walked to Billy's bathroom to wash the wound on his arm. After that, he undressed and lay down on the bed to get a good night's sleep, because tomorrow he had to go to work again. In the morning, Billy woke up. He was in a great mood. He didn't remember what he had done yesterday. He was calmly going to work. When he got there, his father called him into his office again. I know you're going to tell me about sitting around at work again. His son sat down across from him. Don't you realize that this is serious? The man looked at him. I do, but sometimes you have to relax. He shook his head. Then why are you doing this? I am everything to you, the father lamented. I promise not to do it again. The young man stood up and went to his office. He walked down the hallway, looking for the girl he had met here yesterday, but she was nowhere to be found. Lily went into his office, looked at his colleagues, with whom he had a fight yesterday, smiled, went to his seat. He didn't talk to anyone else that day. Colleagues also, as well as Billy, were reprimanded by the boss for going along with him and staying here with him, so they didn't stay at work any longer. Can you tell me where reception is? The young man had already been working at this firm for a year, and now he was stopped by a very pretty girl. Sure enough, Lily smiled at her and led her down the hall. They entered the reception area, and she walked to the supervisor's office, while the guy stuck to the receptionist. Who's this? He attacked the girl with questions. What, did you like it? She smiled. Tell me to settle in or just some kind of check. He didn't know what else to assume. Settling in, the girl looked up from her paperwork. Good. He turned to the window and smiled at Billy. The girl walked out. She headed for the exit. Wait, jumped the young man from his seat. Yes, she turned around. So, did they get you? He followed her down the corridor. No, there are no suitable vacancies, she replied sadly. Don't feel bad. Would you like me to buy you a drink? Billy glanced at his father's door, thinking it wouldn't hurt if he left for a couple of hours. I'm probably distracting you from your work, aren't I? She suggested. Come on, if that were the case, I wouldn't be suggesting such a thing, he laughed. I won't say no to coffee then. The guy and the girl were already at the exit. That's fine. They went to a cafe that was very close by. My name is Billy, he introduced himself gallantly. I'm Katie. She laughed at the way he spoke. Nice to meet you. He opened the door for her to come in. Likewise, now Katie was starting to feel embarrassed in front of him for some reason. They sat at a table and drank coffee, talking about different topics. The girl told him that she had recently graduated from school. She wanted to go to work, and at the same time to study further. Billy envied such eagerness, but he didn't say anything about it. Why don't we have dinner tonight? He looked at his watch. With pleasure, the girl smiled openly. That's great, rejoiced the young man. He really liked her. Previously, there were girls so for once, and this one he wanted to protect, to take care of. After the young men had finished their coffee, they went their separate ways, Billy back to work and Kathy somewhere else. When he returned to the office, no one even noticed his absence. Billy sat down at his desk and could think of nothing else but his new acquaintance. He went home early today because he wanted to get ready for the meeting. Billy asked his mother to get him a suit. She was surprised. It wasn't often, one might say never, that her son asked her for such a favor. For a date? She prepared everything he'd asked for. Yes, and I want your advice on what to buy as a present. For the first time since he was little, Billy asked his mother for something. Flowers and a small gift for the first time. Let it be something simple, the woman said. Thank you. Billy went up to her, and in that moment, he realized that he had done a lot of things wrong in his life. My darling, I know we have spoiled you, but you are still our most favorite boy, hugged and cried his mother. I'm sorry, he looked at her again. No need, you better bring your girlfriend to meet you, she told him. I promise, but not today, and she's not my girlfriend yet. He put on his suit and left the house early to go to the store. With Kathy, they had arranged to meet near the entrance to the restaurant, and Billy was anticipating the meeting. He stood in the flower store, wondering if this was the first time this had ever happened to him. He really liked the girl. Can you advise me what flowers to buy for a first date? He asked the clerk. Get some white roses, the sales clerk advised him. Thanks, I'll do that. He took out the money and paid. After that, Billy went to another store. He decided to buy Kathy some perfume. Today, he saw her, and the girl reminded him of morning, dew, freshness. That was exactly the flavor he was going to pick up for her. When the young man told all this to the girl behind the cash register, she immediately handed him a small bottle. Billy inhaled the fragrance and realized that it was the one. "I'll take it," he said without a doubt. The box was packed at the customer's request, and now, ready, Billy went to the meeting place with the one he wanted to see always. When the young man approached the restaurant, no one was there. Thought the girl might be inside. He quickly climbed the stairs, went in. But there was no one there, or rather, there were people, but not the one the guy was waiting for. His hands went down. He lowered his head. He thought that she wouldn't come. "Sorry, I'm late." He heard her voice from behind him. "Katie." Billy turned around, "and I thought I'd never see you again today." It just so happened. She looked at the flowers. "Ah, yes," he realized, and handed the girl the bouquet. Delighted, they still stood at the entrance. But they were quickly approached by a man who led the couple to a table. "What will you drink?" Was looking at the young man's menu. "If possible, a little wine," she asked. "Good, then I'll have some wine too." Billy called the waiter over, made him an order, and then turned to the girl. "What?" she stammered. "I don't know." He spoke honestly to her. "It's the first time in my life this has happened to me." "What exactly?" Katie really didn't understand. "Falling in love or something." Billy blushed at first sight. "Me?" She sat across from him and looked him straight in the eye. "Well, who else?" He looked around for a laugh. "We don't know each other at all." She picked up her napkin. "We'll find out," he promised her. At that moment, Billy remembered that he had bought Kathy a present. Just he was about to reach for it when he saw the waiter carrying their order. He decided to wait until the glasses were filled. "Thank you." Kathy thanked the man who poured their wine and looked at her companion again. "Kathy," he raised his glass, "I want to drink to the most beautiful girl I have ever met." "Thank you." She raised hers as well. "When I met you today, I thought I should give you a gift, but I couldn't think of what kind. And you may not like it, but that's the scent I associate you with." He placed a small box on the table. "Billy," why she blushed, clutching her cheeks. "I don't know, if we're together, you'll always smell like that, and if we're not, you'll keep the gift from me." He couldn't believe himself for saying such a thing. Just like that, all at once. All in one night. It was the first time Katie had ever met a guy like that either. She had dated guys before, but it took a long time to get to the point of gifts and confessions. "It makes me want to take you and never let you go again," Billy confessed to her. "Good," she laughed. After dinner, the young man walked the girl home, where they agreed to meet tomorrow. For now, he held her hand and didn't want to let go. Until tomorrow, she looked at him in a way that Billy would never forget. "Well, where's our child disappearing to at this late hour?" His father welcomed him home. "Daddy, I think I'm in love," the son told him. "Do you really believe that, mother?" The man laughed. "Why not? He was buying flowers and gifts for her today." His wife approached him. "Wow, and I thought he would live his whole life like that." His father came up to him and patted him on the shoulder. "Nothing funny about it," Billy said resentfully and went to his room. From that moment on, the boy forgot about everything. He began to work, got involved in the process, and if before he understood little, now he was ready to conquer the mountains. Now, every day they met Kathy. Hi, every time she met him outside the firm. "Love," he kissed her. It had been a long time since the young man had been at work. "Where shall we go?" Katie was happy. "Anywhere you want." He was willing to do anything for this girl. "I don't want to go to a restaurant or a cafe, but just somewhere on the shore of a lake or a river," she said dreamily. "Let's go fishing." Billy glowed with happiness that he could offer such a thing to a girl. "How?" Katie's eyes were filled with both joy and consternation at the same time. Very simple, the boy smiled. But we have to go, and you have to work tomorrow. Can't we wait until the weekend? She was really worried about him. You won't believe it. You don't need to go anywhere, just to visit me. He had been inviting her to meet his parents for a long time, but the girl was shy, postponing the meeting. You didn't know how to lure me there, she laughed. It's true, you'll see for yourself, Billy almost swore to her. Well, all right, she waved her hand, I'll do it. After that, the young people didn't drag their feet. They drove to Billy's parents' house. Mom, this is Kathy. They entered the house. The woman was in the kitchen. The father, as usual, was not home. Oh, why didn't you warn me? I would have cooked something tasty. The woman was worried. We're going fishing now, and you'll have time to do something. He looked at the girl. So you meant what you said. Katie looked at the young man as he said it in front of her mother. And you thought. Billy walked to the pantry and got the... Katie was in awe of everything. She looked around and marveled at how Billy's father had done things here. Today, they sat quietly in the boat. The fishing was good, so Billy and Kathy only had time to pull the fish out. That's enough, I think, or we'll have to do something about it, the young man told her. Yes, I'll help you and your mom, Katie said. She was having such a good time. After that, they just rode on the boat and talked. Kathy, will you marry me? Said Billy suddenly. So soon? She was surprised. What's the drag? He looked at the water. Really, I love you. You love me. We're good together. She touched his arm. So you agree? He stood up. The boat almost overturned. Careful. Please, she almost fell. I'm the luckiest man on Selenium, he shouted. And I love you. They docked at the shore, kissed. Mom, here's the fish. It smelled good at home. Now, son, the woman took the bucket. I'll help. Katie showed up. Good, smiled the woman. She liked her son's friend. Mom, I proposed to Kathy, entered the joyful son to them. So, we will have a festive dinner tonight. The woman was very happy, but did not show it much, because she knew the character of her son. Today, he could grab onto something he liked, and tomorrow, when he got bored, throw it all away. So, you stay here and get ready, and I'll go to the store, Billy said. Okay, the women smiled. Billy left. He wanted to buy the most beautiful ring. He called his father and told him about everything. He promised he would be there tonight. Katie also called her parents, invited them to visit her future husband. They agreed to come, of course. Well, what? Let's raise our glasses to the happy future of the young, muttered the head of the family. Hurrah, said Billy. He was happy for himself. After that, Katie stayed with Billy. The wedding was to take place in 3 weeks. The preparations were in full swing. The groom's parents spared nothing. The bride was very beautiful, and the groom was glowing with happiness. I have something to tell you, Katie whispered in Billy's ear. Can we do it later? The groom was very nervous for some reason. Yes, but I think you'll be happy to hear it, she told him. All right, what do you got? He watched the guests drive up. You're gonna be a daddy soon. She looked at him and smiled. What? He froze, and then slowly turned to his future wife. Just like that, all at once, the girl waved her hands. My darling, he lifted Katie in his arms. That's it, let go, squealed the girl. After this news, Billy's mood was even better than before. He was glowing with happiness. When they were announced husband and wife, and they went to the restaurant, the first thing the groom did was to announce to all the guests the happy news that he himself had learned only a few hours ago. The wedding was over. The young people stayed to live in the husband's house. Everything was made for life here. Kathy liked everything very much. She did not work anywhere. Like her mother-in-law, she stayed at home. They cooked, waited for their husbands to come home from work, and they tried not to be late. Why don't you and I go out anymore? Katie would ask her husband at night. Look, there's so much to do at the company. I can't keep up, he told her. I understand, but I'm bored at home alone, the wife complained. Well, we'll go out this weekend, Billy promised her, and Kathy believed him. And he kept his promise. On the weekend they went to the movies, and after that they went to a restaurant. Well, how's your soul? Holding Billy's hand. Yes, thank you, my love, but I wish we had more of these outings, his wife told him. They sat some more. Already everything had been drunk and eaten. Now the young people were just talking. Nothing bothering you? Billy asked when Kathy started to wrinkle and grabbed her stomach. No, something prickled. The period was already long, so Billy was worried. How much longer to walk? He asked, because he couldn't do the math himself. 2 months, she said calmly. Okay, at that moment his phone rang. Billy, Daddy's not feeling well. Come home quick. Mom yelled into the phone. What? He turned to Katie. What's wrong? She was worried. Let's go home, he paid, took his wife's hand, and they walked quickly towards the exit. Tell me what's going on. The girl started to get nervous. Daddy is not feeling well, he said quickly. They were home in a few minutes, and the ambulance was already here. Billy. Mom ran out to him. She was crying. I'll go with him, the son said quickly. He walked towards the ambulance. Oh, almost sat down Katie. Daughter, what's wrong with you? Grabbed her mother-in-law's hand. I don't know, she squinted in pain. Billy, his mother shouted to him, and he looked over, saw that his wife wasn't feeling well, ran over. He was tearing up now. Let's go. He picked her up in his arms and called for the doctors. They saw that help was needed here too, quickly ran up. Now the doctors were in the car, one with a seizure, the other with stomach pain, and with them Billy, who was almost going crazy because he was worried about both of them. At the emergency room, Katie was taken to the delivery room and the man was taken to the intensive care unit. Billy couldn't move away. He was on duty under the doors, worried about his father. Unfortunately, a doctor came out of the room. Unfortunately, what? The young man didn't understand him. He had a massive heart attack. We were not able to save him. The doctor mumbled. He did not look into his son's eyes. That can't be. Sat down and covered his face with his hands. Better go to your wife. She's having a hard time too, the doctor advised him. Billy remembered about Katie and rushed to the neighboring ward. She was lying on the bed. Some apparatuses were attached to her. Sweetheart, how are you doing? Asked her inconsolable husband. How is your father doing? She asked practically with only one lip. He's dead, he didn't think, and said Billy. Ah, at this point, Kathy felt so bad she couldn't contain herself. What did you say to her? At that moment, a nurse came running into the room. Sorry, the young man's eyes widened as he saw how bad his wife was feeling. He had been forced out of the room where labor had begun. Everyone feared a dire outcome because things were not going as well as they should have. What happened next, Billy didn't know. He didn't have the physical or emotional strength to bear it all. 2 people he loved dearly were now in the hospital, and one could no longer be saved. He was sedated and taken to a room to get some rest. Daddy, wake up. Billy felt himself being pushed. Oh yeah, he couldn't figure out where he was. Congratulations, you have a daughter. Only now you won't be able to see your wife or child, because both are in intensive care. The nurse shocked him at once. What about them? His mind cleared up immediately. He remembered last night. The woman had a cesarean. Her blood pressure dropped and then went up a lot. And the baby is very weak, sick, she explained. Okay. Billy came to his senses completely. He decided that since there was no way to get to his wife and daughter now, he needed to take care of the father. He got ready, went home. His mother was in a state of distress. Where were you? Why didn't you answer the phone? What about Dad and Katie? She asked a lot of questions at once. She had circles under her eyes. It was obvious she hadn't slept. Mommy, sit down. He took her by the shoulders and put her in a chair. Is it bad? The woman said, and almost collapsed without feeling. The son went to the kitchen, found drops that Mom constantly dripped. diluted with water, and gave it to her. Dad's gone, massive heart attack. Katie had given birth last night. I think she was nervous. She and her daughter are in intensive care. He repeated what the doctors had told him. Oh my God, she took a sip from her glass. Now the woman looked like she was alive, but somewhere not here. Arrangements had to be made with everyone to make the funeral arrangements, and that was Billy's job. In just one night, the young man had to grow up. He went from carefree Billy to a serious man. He called here, there, ordered, refused, agreed. Finally, everything was done. And in 2 days, the farewell to her father was to take place. By this time, Katie had been moved out of intensive care. She was now in a simple ward. The husband arrived immediately. Did you see the daughter? What did you name her? He kissed her and peppered her with questions. I saw her. She's better now. We have Selena. Will be discharged soon. How are you? Katie was very thin. Selena, as if he could taste the name. After the funeral, everything the father had passed to his wife and son. Now he had to run the firm. Billy didn't change his father's deputies and assistants, as they knew everything and could help. The man himself was now torn between work and the hospital, where his wife and daughter were still hospitalized. He came to see them. Billy had spared no money on doctors. When almost 3 months had passed, mom and daughter were discharged. During that time, they had changed several clinics. But now the girl, although she was weak, she was developing well. So, how are you doing? Billy asked her when they were fully settled at home. Good, but I'm afraid we won't be having any more children. Katie didn't look her husband in the eye. Maybe it's for the best. I don't want to go through that again, he humped her. After that, the family lived in the same house. Grandmother and mother took care of Selena, who grew up as a weak and sickly girl. Billy worked. Now there was no more drinking and partying in his mind. He had to not only provide for his family, but also raise the firm. When Selena was 4, the family decided it was time to put her in kindergarten. Can we hire a nanny and Selena will be homeschooled? Katie's mother-in-law asked. No nanny was against Billy. He remembered how he himself went to a regular kindergarten, decided that he would not bring up his daughter the way he had been brought up. Fine, whatever you say. Both his wife and mother agreed with him. By the time Selena went to 1st grade, the father decided to run for deputy and then for the head of the city. Are you sure that you will be able to pull it all off? You're still young, asked his mother. No, he shrugged his shoulders, but he was determined. Billy got into the deputies, and not in the city, but in the district. Now he could do a lot of things. The factory had gone to his mother, but the man hadn't stopped running it. So, family, Billy liked to gather everyone at the big table at home. What new stories? Nothing. We should be the ones asking you what's new, laughed Mom. Selena was more and more silent. She didn't talk to anyone in the family. She was kind of cloistered. Daughter, what's wrong? Daddy always paid attention. Nothing. She was embarrassed. Do you want to talk? Her father would ask her, like his father used to ask him. Yes, she nodded. Come on. He took her hand and they went into the other room. And there she cried that she was not loved at school by teachers and students because they knew whose daughter she was. They say that she can do anything, even though she doesn't do anything like that. So, daughter, do not pay attention to anyone, study well, because this knowledge will be very useful for you later. I didn't listen to my father at the time, so I have to catch up everything now, her father advised her. Good, Selena agreed. When the girl was in her final grades, she met Harry. The guy was a couple years older. He was a student at the local high school. Selena, always shy and taciturn, suddenly began to blossom before her eyes. They had been dating for a year. Selena was finishing 11th grade. The girl thought that everything in life would be fine. So, daughter, what are you going to do after graduation? As well as his once, asked her father. He was already a very influential man, not only in the city, but also in the region. He could help his child get into any educational institution. Billy had always dreamed of having a son, but his wife couldn't give him one. She even offered to take a boy from an orphanage, but Billy did not want it in any way, saying that he needed his son with his genes. That's why the man had plans for his daughter. What difference does it make, boy or girl? Her character can also be tempered so that she will manage all the affairs no worse than a man, he told his mother. Lately, the woman gave up a lot. More and more time she spent in bed. Granddaughter, daughter-in-law, and son took care of her. Dad, I didn't want to tell you this now, but I wouldn't want to go anywhere from our town after graduation. Selena sat next to him and said this. What are you talking about? If you stay here, you won't have any prospects, he wondered. I'd fallen in love. Didn't raise her daughter's eyes at him. Harry and I have been together for a year now. What kind of love? What do you want? Selena turned away from her father. You have graduation coming up. Come on, you pass all your exams, and then bring your Harry to meet us. He hugged his daughter. She turned to him. Of course, he kissed his most favorite person. Thank you. You'll see he's nice. The girl's mood changed immediately. Okay, we'll see, said the father, smiling, thinking to himself that it's a complete nonsense. Selena happily went about every day now. She had passed everything that was required. Graduation was set. Well, get ready. Soon we'll go to meet my parents, she told her favorite in the evening, when the graduation was only a few days away. Maybe we shouldn't, he asked. What are you? Did not you say that you love me and would do anything for this? She looked into his eyes. Speaking, he put his arms around her, smiled, and looked off into the distance. Harry was born into a poor family, with only his mom as a relative. Yes, there were grandparents, but not anymore. Now Harry and his mom lived in a small apartment. He went to school. After 9th grade, he went to study to help his mother. And then he met Selena. He himself does not understand how this girl from a rich family paid attention to him. And now he has to go and meet her parents. So, sweetheart, are you ready? Her parents have been asking her since this morning. Of course, today was not only an exciting day because of the fact that the next stage in Selena's life was ending, but also because her boyfriend had to meet her family today. All was well. The diploma was in hand. Now everyone was going to the banquet. The girl spent some time with her classmates. She knew Harry was waiting for her. Hello. She saw him on the corner of the school. Hello. He looked at the girl with loving eyes. Are you ready? She asked him. No, but there's nothing to do, sighed the guy. Let's go, and remember, don't be afraid of anything. My father is strict but fair. It was obvious that Selena was happy with him. They arrived at the girl's house. They got out of the car. When they entered the house, no one greeted them. Strange, Selena wondered. What's strange to you? The father looked out. Why don't you greet us? She smiled at him. Don't you know the way? Billy tried to joke. He already saw who came with his daughter. Come in, children, the mother finally came out to them. They went into the room, sat down at the table. Hello. Harry looked at the man and immediately lowered his eyes. And what did you find in him? Couldn't understand his father. Yes, he tried to bring her up as a simple child, not to spoil her, and not to give all the benefits for nothing. But her father never expected her to bring a poor man into the house. Dad, you can't do that. Selena looked at him. She thought her father might have been drinking. That's why he was talking like that now. The girl was very uncomfortable in front of her guest. I can do anything, laughed Billy. Now you could recognize in him the major he was years ago when he didn't count with anyone. All right, calm down. We'll talk in private later. His wife put her hand on his shoulder. Good. It was obvious that the father did not want to talk at all. Harry, what are you doing? Katie asked him. Just a part-time job, here and there. He avoided a direct answer. Anyway, you don't have anything, do you? Billy asked cheekily. I'll earn it. Harry looked at him confidently. Yeah, you wait and be happy. the head of the family chewed. He wasn't interested in being here anymore. He realized everything from the first glance at this kid. So Billy got up from the table, thanked his wife, congratulated his daughter again, and left the room defiantly. The rest of us sat in silence. I should probably go. The guy looked at the girl. I'll see you off. Selena didn't want the scandal to continue. Besides, she saw that the young man was uncomfortable. Not for nothing I didn't want to go. People like your father are best not to mess with. They went out on the porch. He's nice. He's just probably not in the mood. Selena kissed him. Okay, bye, see you later. But on my turf, they said their goodbyes and Harry went home. He was very uncomfortable with what had happened today at his girlfriend's house, but he was a stubborn guy, and he wasn't going to back down. What, did you leave? Came back out to the table. As you can see, Selena was sad again. Daughter, think about it. Why do you need all this? He is a beggar. He has nothing. What can he give you? Said the father, while his voice was getting louder and louder. You'd think you had it all to yourself. If it wasn't for your father, you wouldn't have any of this, Selena parried. How dare you? He got up from his chair. Honey, calm down, Katie interjected. She knew what her husband could be like when he was angry. Okay, I'm sorry, but this situation has pissed me off, he exhaled and sat back down. It's my choice, not yours, Selena continued. You're not going to be with him, his father said as if he was just asking for a drink of water. Who said that? The girl was furious now. I said it, you're underage, so I can decide for you. Billy was now talking as if he was talking to his subordinates. You have no right to make decisions for me. I have my own opinion. Selena was getting angry. I'll take everything away from you, understandably. If only you stay with him, shouted her father. I don't want anything from you, cried Selena, and got up from the table. Where are you going? Her dad yelled back at her. Away from you. She slammed the door to her room. Why would you do that? Katie tried to calm him down. Don't get involved. If he doesn't want to do it the right way, he'll do it the wrong way, thumped Billy on the table. And what are you going to do? Katie wondered. She knew this man was capable of many things. You'll find out later. He threw his napkin on the table and walked toward the exit. Billy, maybe you shouldn't, his wife shouted after her husband, but he didn't answer anything. He was very angry. The man came to the factory. He hadn't been here for a long time. Everything was done for him by the hired director, but when he needed to think about something or to rest, he came here. Hello, everyone greeted him, but he just nodded. Billy had his own office here, so he went straight into it. He called his assistant over, told her to call one number. Okay, it would be done in a few minutes, she promised. Billy waited. He sat in the office. 15 minutes passed, but it seemed like an eternity to him. Finally, the door opened and a uniformed man appeared. Hello, Billy. You wanted to see me? He asked him. Hello, Archie. She read it and burned it in the ashtray. So, the customer was waiting for an answer. Are you doubting me? Everything will be done beautifully, showed the guest to him with a gesture. I need it to be gone for a few years, was Billy's last request. Everything will be, the employee assured him. That's it then, payment upon fulfillment. Billy didn't want to talk to him anymore. The man left his office. He stayed there alone, but he wasn't there long. He went home. The daughter was gone, and the wife was washing dishes and cleaning up. When she saw her husband come home, she rushed right over to him. Don't mess with me today, he asked her. Okay, she only nodded and went back into the kitchen. Harry was at work when his co-workers showed up. While one told him why they were here, the other slipped everything he needed into his purse. What are you talking about? The guy didn't know what was going on. Come on in. They took him under the arms. Harry stood in the middle of the garage. He were also too understandable. First, they inspected the personal belongings, after that the tools, and then the purse. You're so fearless. I thought you were hiding it somewhere, but you're carrying it in the open, the officer grinned. A report was signed and Harry was taken to the police station. "Daddy, what's going on?" Selena came running home as soon as she found out. "How did you know something was going on?" Lily was surprised. "I don't realize you did this," she started crying. "Daughter, I had nothing to do with it. I told you he was no match for you." He approached the girl and wanted to hug her, but she took his hands away. "If you have nothing to do with it, then help," she asked him. Tears were already running in streams. "Why should I help some junkie?" He didn't understand. "You said you had nothing to do with it, didn't you?" Her eyes got big. "And what? Nothing changed," he hummed and sat back in his chair. "How do you know you're a junkie then?" Selena shouted so much that her mother came running. "That's it, daughter. Go and mind your own business and forget about him. You'll have plenty more of those." He waved him off. "What's wrong?" asked the mother to Selena as they walked out. When she told her, the woman was also surprised, but somewhere she was in solidarity with her husband. "I can't believe Daddy would do such a thing," Selena cried. "How did you find out?" Katie couldn't understand. "When Harry didn't come to the meeting, I got worried. I called. The phone was unavailable. I went to his house. His mother told me everything." Selena cried again. "Jesus, daughter." The woman hugged her. "Okay, if he is so, I will act against the father," squinted her daughter's eyes, turned around, and left the house. "Where are you going?" Her mother only had time to shout, but the door had already closed and no one heard her. "Why did you do it?" she asked her husband later. Now her daughter might turn her back on us forever. Now her husband will be in prison. After that she will sing differently, he said, grinning. "You don't know her, she's proud," Katie said. "If she needs money, she'll come running," Lily said smugly. Selena, meanwhile, was on her way home to Harry's house. She went to the door, knocked, and was opened by a crying woman. "Hello again," she said hello to her. "Come in, Selena," was the woman inconsolable. They went into the kitchen, drank tea, talked about what to do next. Nothing was decided. "Can I stay with you tonight?" Selena asked. Of course, the woman had planned to go to her father the next day to ask him. All night, neither woman could sleep a wink. They just lay there, silent, each thinking about their own things. In the morning, Harry's mother got up. She was getting ready. "Where are you going?" Selena asked her. "To your father's," she spoke in a confident tone. "It's no use," Selena shook her head. "And who are you and Harry to each other?" suddenly asked the woman. Earlier, the son, in order not to upset his mother, said that they were friends. "You don't know anything?" The girl was surprised. "No," the landlady shook her head. "We are friends." At this point, the woman exhaled. Selena confirmed her son's words. What was the mother to do? She collected all the money to hire a lawyer. Selena helped her. But no one helped the guy. He got 4 years. He could have gotten 8, the lawyer said afterwards. "What can I say?" the woman cried. Harry was taken away, not far away, so Selena could freely go to him on dates. She specifically told her parents that she was enrolling in another city, did it, and herself, so that no one would know, visited her lover. "Didn't you tell your mother that we were dating?" she asked him when she first came to visit. "No, why should I? Your father's known, so she'd worry?" He looked scared. "You know, when she asked me what's going on between us, I told her we were friends," Selena said. "That's good. Let her think so," smiled Harry, who was already getting scared for her. The two of them were very good together. Selena came to see her lover as soon as possible. She loved this man with all her soul, and she didn't care what kind of future she had with him. "Selena, why don't we get married?" Harry asked her one day. "I agree." She didn't even think for a minute. "Then we need to arrange to have it all arranged here," the guy worried. "Okay, I'll try." She was ready for anything, just to be with her lover. They could meet and just be silent for hours, because with some people silence is interesting. About informing her parents about the wedding, the girl didn't even think about it. She would come home for a while so they wouldn't start looking for her or anything. But Harry's mother, she did call. "Oh, Selena, hi. Well, tell me how you're doing." The woman was happy to hear from her. "I'm fine, Aunt Ariana, and Harry and I are getting married," she said, and waited to see what the woman would say in response. "How married? Your friends? I thought you were just helping him out like that." The woman's voice trembled. "Why? Are you against it?" The girl didn't understand. "Not that, but I advise you not to hurry," the woman asked her. "Are you also against our communication?" The girl was ready to cry. She was getting hysterical. "Calm down, my girl. Just please take your time," Harry's mother asked her. "Okay, I don't know what you want to do, but we are determined to do it." Selena disconnected. After that, everyone's mind was a complete mess. Ariana was determined to go to Billy's in the morning. She pulled herself together, exhaled, and opened the apartment doors. "Hi, I'm here to see Billy," she told the girl at the front desk. "He's busy," she said without even lifting her head. "It's okay, I'll wait." Ariana sat down on the chair. "He won't be free all day," said the secretary. "Everyone says so, but he is a human being. He will still have some natural needs to eat, to go to the toilet." The woman was adamant. "Okay, now," picked up the phone, the one who sat behind the desk. "Well, what is it?" Ariana surprised herself. She had never acted like this before. "Come in," said the girl. "Thank you," got up from the chair and walked into the office woman. At that moment, all her confidence evaporated. She didn't know what to do or how to behave. "Hello," she looked at him. He hadn't changed much. "Come in, sit down." Billy thought he was just another local to ask about water, heat, gas, or something else. "Billy, I've come to see you about my son Harry." Ariana looked at him. I didn't understand, at which point he broke away from his paperwork and looked at her. "A friend of your daughter, Selena's," the woman explained. "If you're asking for my help, I'm not involved," he said gruffly. "Please listen to me," she begged. "I have nothing more to say to you. Come out, or I will call security," he said icily. "I could have come earlier, but I didn't dare, and now it's serious." She decided to go with the trump card. "And what is serious?" He thought something had happened to the guy in detention. "Our kids want to get married," she blurted out. "What? How is that possible?" He thought Selena had already calmed down, because she came home often, talking about her studies and her other activities. She goes to see him on dates, and yesterday she called and said that they decided to tie themselves legally right there. Ariana was practically screaming already. "The only way I can stop it is to have them banned from dating." He tapped his pen on the table. "That won't change much," the woman cried. "What do you know? That's it. I don't want to talk anymore. Go away." He brushed her off like a fly. "Harry's your son." She got up from her chair. "What are you talking about?" Billy looked at his visitor like she was crazy. "It's true." She shook her head. "Look at you. What a dump you found yourself in." He pointed at her from head to toe. "Years ago, I worked as a cleaner at your father's firm. You were there late at night, and as you were leaving you bumped into me." She began to tell him. Billy calmed down a bit then. He started to remember. He looked at her again. "You do realize I'm going to check it out, right?" He hummed. "Why would I lie to you?" She didn't understand. "Okay, now go." He kicked her out of his office after all. Ariana walked down the street and cried. She would have never admitted it if it wasn't for this whole circumstance. Then, when Billy dragged her into the back room and threw her there, she got up, went to the restroom, cleaned herself up. She went home through the service entrance so no one would see her. At home, she cried all night, called her mom. "Hi, can I come over?" She asked her. "Why do you ask? Of course, come over." Mom was afraid her daughter had something wrong. Ariana called the next day at work, said she was quitting, and went to her parents' house. She stayed with them for a month and was on her way home when she realized she was pregnant. "Mom, I think I'm expecting a baby, she said to the woman she was closest to. From whom? Her mother was stunned. Yes, I had a boyfriend, she lied. What do you think you're going to do? The woman wondered then. Nothing, give birth. Ariana was surprised by her question. What, you regret it? Her mother asked question after question. No, I loved Max so much, and I wanted to have children with him, but he died and left me nothing. I know for sure that I will have no one but him, so at least I'll leave a child, said the daughter to her mother, and cried at that. Do as you know, my father and I will support you in everything, her mother reassured her then. Ariana decided to stay with her parents during her pregnancy. She gave birth in the same city. She came home when Harry was almost 6 months old. Her mom asked to go with her, but no one took her with her. Ariana wanted to bring up her son by herself, but the grandparents were not forbidden to visit. So, poorly, she raised her boy on his feet. When he went to kindergarten, she got a job there as a nanny so that he was always in her sight. When he went to school, his mother did not follow him, so she worked in the kindergarten. All this she remembered at home when she looked at the album where her son was small. And now, how did he happen to meet Selena? Why did that family give them nothing but trouble? In the meantime, Billy had ordered a biological test from the boy and had also taken his own. Now all they had to do was wait for the results, and then everything would fall into place. Why are you so nervous? His wife asked him at home. I can't say yet. He didn't want to tell anyone anything ahead of time. Okay, I'll wait. But you calm down, you're not taking care of yourself at all, she said. Kathy, I don't want to talk to anyone yet, he answered her gruffly. His wife just stepped aside. Okay, I'm not telling you anything. She realized that when her husband was in that condition, there was no need to say anything. And Billy waited. The days dragged on. He couldn't do anything. Sometimes his head started to hurt so badly that it seemed that only an axe could help. Finally, he got a call from the clinic, inviting him and Ariana to get the results. Ariana, hello. The man spoke to her in a different way. Good afternoon, she said politely. Listen, the results are ready. We need to pick them up. We are invited, he said, and his voice was shaking. Okay, I'll come straight there, the woman said and hung up. Billy was as anxious as a schoolboy before an exam. He was waiting for Harry's mother to arrive, and she walked through the doors. After that, they were given envelopes. The man looked at the woman. She was calm. Aren't you worried? He asked her. Why should I be worried? It's going to say 99 and 9. I'm sure of it. She looked at him with a winning look. Let's see. Billy was sweating. He opened the envelope. He immediately ran his eyes down the page. It did say 99 and 9, and continued with the 9s. So, are you going to help your son now? She asked. Why didn't you say anything before? He asked tearfully. Why did I have to say something to make you think that we need something from you? She didn't understand. I'll take care of it. He looked at his watch and pulled his cell phone out of his pocket. Archie, hi. We need to meet. Then he turned and walked away. Ariana didn't hear any further conversation. She stood and smiled, but she was able to prove to this pompous turkey that there is always a boomerang return in life. It's certainly not all done quickly, but we're doing the best we can, he said guiltily to Ariana. Thank you for that, but now we have to do something about the wedding. She reminded him of what started it all. Yeah, now that it's out in the open, come to our place this weekend. Selena's coming too. We'll talk about it, he suggested. Okay, I hope the girl is smart. She won't resist. It will make it worse for her, Ariana said, and walked out of the hospital with her head held high. Billy was so happy. He'd always wanted a son, and now he had one. And not some orphanage kid, but his own. He wanted to share the news with someone, but he didn't know who to confide it to. So he came home and went up to his mother, who was still lying in bed. Hi, sweetheart, are you all right? He asked her. Not anymore. I'm so used to this pain that I don't feel it anymore. She reached out her hand to her son, and he sat next to her on the bed. Can you imagine? I have a son. He began to tell the woman how it all turned out. Wow, listen, the firm is registered to me. I want to leave it to my grandson. It's my last wish, she said, and she seemed to have run out of strength. I don't mind, Billy smiled. Selena called home before the weekend, saying she was coming over. Before that, she'd gone to Harry's house and was told there would be no date. She asked why and was told that the guy had filed an appeal and it had been granted, and now all charges against him were dropped. The girl didn't understand what was going on, but it was to her advantage. Ariana, Selena's definitely coming, so we're looking forward to seeing you this weekend for a visit, Billy called her. If you thought back to how he had interacted with her a few days ago and today, you could see a colossal difference. Okay, I'll be there Saturday night. What about Harry's case? It was more interesting to her than talking to Selena. It's all right. Some formalities will be resolved now and he'll come home too. The man spoke calmly. I'm glad of that, the woman smiled. On Saturday, she got up early, cleaned herself up, and was ready to go, but looked at the clock, which showed only noon, stopped. Ariana went out to the courtyard. There were many women sitting on the benches, some she knew, some she just knew. Ariana, hello. We heard the official helped your son, they said. The woman had heard it before, but the news didn't report it. What's the big deal? He'd help you too if you asked, she said. That Billy's the kind of guy you can't ask for snow in winter, they said. Now Ariana didn't know why she was sticking up for Billy. What did you say to him to make him do it? We've seen Harry and his daughter. They've started picking up gossip again. What else have you seen? Ariana didn't want to be a part of this mess. Maybe that's why he helped her, because he's going to be a son-in-law soon, the neighbors thought. And you didn't think that my son was innocent of anything. Ariana looked at them reproachfully. Oh, so if they arrested him, he must be guilty, they began to snort. Think and assume as much as you like, the woman said. She got up from the bench and walked away. She thought that while she was walking to Billy's house, it would be just about the appointed time. Hello. She came to visit the man she had hated for years. Come in, and Selena hasn't arrived, he said sadly. So maybe she went to Harry's? Ariana worried. I hadn't thought of that. Lily's eyes raced. Call, the woman asked. Now, the father dialed his daughter's number. She didn't answer. He got nervous. Hello, what's wrong? Katie came out on the porch. Honey, meet Ariana. This is Ariana, Harry's mom, her husband told her. Are you being serious now? She didn't understand. Why not? He didn't understand her. Well, hello there, I'm Katie. She held out her hand. After that, everyone went into the house to find out where Selena was missing. Her phone still wasn't answering. Her parents and more than a few were nervous. What happened? She might not have come before, Katie wondered. Everything will be known soon, Lily said quickly, and dialed the number again. Meanwhile, Selena stood at the big gate, waiting for her beloved to come out. Harry said goodbye to the people who had become close to him during all this time. He himself was in shock at what was happening. First, he was imprisoned without trial. Now he was also being released, but he didn't say anything to anyone. That's it, bro. Take care of yourself. They shook hands. The young man went out of the gate. He was met by his beloved, and even though he spent some time here, in places not so remote, the guy knew exactly where he had to go and what to do. Alright, Selena, my love, I'm back. He hugged her. Oh my God, I missed you. She hung on to him. Don't, it's all over now, they hugged. Let's go to my house. I have such news for my parents that now they will not turn away, she told him between kisses. Harry didn't mind, on the contrary. He wanted to tell his fiancé's father that justice still existed. And no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't do anything about it. On the bus, Selena just clung to the guy, and didn't let go until they reached their destination. And then they got off, got into a cab, and drove to a familiar house. "Okay, it's getting late. I'm going to go." Ariana stood by the door, saying goodbye to Billy and Katie. "Okay, we'll call you as soon as we know anything," they promised her. At that moment, they all heard the gate open and someone walked in. Quietly, Billy put his finger to his lips. "What?" The women didn't understand. "It's Selena." He held his finger up. They opened the front door, and Harry and Selena were indeed standing on the doorstep. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Didn't understand the young man. "We're waiting for you." She looked at her son. She wanted to hug him so badly, and tears Ariana could barely hold back. "I mean, how did you know, in general, what's going on?" Harry asked, and Billy stood looking at the boy. He really saw some resemblance to his father. "Come in." Katie was the only one who was in a calm state of mind and could control everything. She didn't know anything yet, but what she was about to find out now, she had no idea. Since guests were expected in this house, the table was set. Everyone made their way to the large room and sat down at it. "Did you guys know we were coming today?" Selena didn't understand anything either. "Well, you come every weekend." Dad found something to say. "Well, you don't grate me like this every time, do you?" She pointed to the table. "You see, we got company tonight." Billy pointed at Ariana. "I don't understand. I was coming here to tell you what I think of you. And here's my mother. You probably came here for the same thing, didn't you?" The son turned to her. "Okay, I'm about to make a statement. Probably a lot of people at this table will be shocked by it." Billy got to his feet. "No, I'm going to make a statement first," Selena said, and stood up as well. "Okay, go ahead." Wanted to hear what her father had to say. "Harry and I are getting married, and no one can stop us from doing it because I'm pregnant." She looked down at everyone. Billy and Ariana looked at each other, the man's eye twitching. "It's impossible," he said in a shaky voice. "We're not going to ask anyone, are we, love?" Celine looked at the young man, seeking support in him. "Yes," he nodded. "Okay, kids, let me tell me." Billy couldn't take it anymore. He felt like his heart was about to stop. His daughter and son were about to become husband and wife. And the worst part of it all is they're having a baby. "Well, talk already." Tired of waiting for Katie and wondering what happened. "Here." The man put an envelope on the table. Katie took it in her hands, ran her eyes, which were bigger than usual. "What is it, Mom?" Selena snatched it out of her hands. "Okay, alleged father." She read first the father's name, then Harry's, looked at them, then at Ariana. Probability of paternity, 99 and 9. Daughter, saw Katie start to slump. Harry managed to pick her up in time. "What is this all about?" He started yelling at his mother. "You happen to be in love with your own sister." "I do not understand how, where." The boy fidgeted, then froze. "What?" Ariana took his hand. "So that's why they let me go," he guessed and grinned. "What's going on?" Selene came to her senses after fainting. "You passed out," her mother, who was sitting above her, told her. "I don't mean that right now." The girl sat on the floor and looked at everyone at the table. "It turns out Harry is your brother," Billy muttered. "That can't be," roared Selena. "I'm sorry, daughter." The man lowered his head. "They're not related," Katie said quietly. "What?" All eyes were on her now. "I'm sorry, but since it's such a serious matter now, I have to confess." The woman wasn't looking at anyone in the room. "Speak." Billy was so pissed off that it couldn't be said. "Before I met you, I was dating a guy. He courted, showered me with gifts, compliments, like that. He had no one home. I came over, and we had it all. And then he told me he only wanted me for that. I was bitter and hurt, but my pride didn't allow me to do anything." Katie began to tell me. She had gone to the window, and now she was standing with her back to everyone. "So, what, you've decided to take advantage of me?" Billy guessed. "I'm sorry, but just when I was about to kill myself, You got in my way, and everything started to develop so quickly. I thought, why miss such a chance? So I agreed to everything, to intimacy, and to the wedding. She turned and looked at her husband. You know, if I had listened to this story under different circumstances, you wouldn't be standing here right now. But now, he looked at the children. If there had been other circumstances, you would never have known about it, his wife told him. Understandably, he wanted to break something. The way life had turned out. The son he'd always wanted so badly was brought up in poverty, with some woman, and he was bringing up a daughter who wasn't his own. Yes, parents, you've made a mess of things, Celine said. At that moment, they heard some kind of squeezed scream. Mom, Billy jumped up. He ran to her room. Everyone rushed after him. What happened? Katie went over to her mother-in-law's bed. But there was no one to answer. The woman was dead. Emergency, ambulance, the man shouted. For a while, everything that was happening in the house was forgotten because everyone was doing other things. But when the funeral was over, the family gathered again, including Ariana and Harry. So at first I was going to buy you a separate house, but I've changed my mind, Billy began to say. And what did you change your mind? Selena wondered. It will be some time after the funeral, and we'll have a wedding. And then, like Kathy and me, you'll come to live with us in this house, he told the young people. I don't need your handouts. I'll earn my own money, Harry said proudly. Of course you will. I even know where. He put the sheet in front of him that was transferring the firm to him. What's this? The boy didn't understand. You could say the place where you were conceived. Billy turned to Ariana. I don't understand, and I don't know anything about these things, said the young man. It's all right. I was once a young man like you. There's a lot of helpers, and you don't need me. He came over and gave the boy his hand. I'll shake it for you, but don't think I'll take it like a father, Harry told him proudly. All of me took his hand and hugged Billy. With that, Ariana quietly got up from the table and was about to leave. Where are you going, lady? Billy turned to her. Home. What am I supposed to do here? She didn't understand. Your home is here now. The father of her child smiled at her. Why are you deciding for me? She didn't understand. Because you, like us, will soon have a grandson or granddaughter, and the young ones will need the help of grandmothers, the man explained to her. Okay, I'll just go and get everything I need. She left the house and went to her place. She took her time, spending a few more weeks at home until Harry came to pick her up. Son, can't you do something without me? She asked him. Mom, if you don't go there, I won't stay there either, he hugged her. Okay, she grabbed her things, which weren't much, and they left the apartment. On the bench outside the entrance, the local gossipers were gathered again. Ariana, is it true that your Harry is now the owner of the firm? They whispered. How would you know that? The woman wondered how quickly rumors spread in this town. The whole town is talking about it. It turned out that he is the son of that official Billy. And when only you had time, they shook their heads. That's none of your business. The woman got into the car. They drove to a familiar house. The months passed quickly. Selena's belly was growing by the hour. Everything was ready for the wedding. Of course, it was necessary to wait a little longer, but no one wanted the child to be born out of wedlock. So 6 months after the funeral, it was decided to have a wedding. Look at me. I'm like a broad on a samovar, Selena said as she stood in her wedding dress in front of the mirror. Do you want to just sign now, and then we'll have a real wedding? The father asked his daughter. Harry, are you okay? She turned to the groom. I'm in favor. I don't need this banquet at all, he said. He was getting tired of it all. Then I'm in favor of the proposal, Selena said. And already on Saturday, near the registry office, there were only 2 cars. Harry and Selena signed. Only parents were present. After that, they went home to celebrate, because Selena was already on such a term that everything could start suddenly. Mom, her daughter came to her at night. What's wrong? The woman didn't understand in her sleep. I think it started. Katie looked. There was indeed a wet trail behind her. Hurry, Billy. Call an ambulance. The woman shouted. She took Selena to get dressed. Harry was preparing the bag, which was already prepared. Together they drove to the maternity hospital because they were worried about their wife, daughter, and daughter-in-law. Shouldn't we have stayed home? Billy asked everyone. Were you home when I was in labor? Katie asked him, and then she hesitated, remembering why he had come to the hospital with them. You're right, we'll wait, he nodded. Everyone was sleep-deprived, yawning, Harry dozing at the wheel. Which one of you is the daddy? A nurse approached the car. Unfortunately, what? The young man didn't understand him. He had a massive heart attack. We were not able to save him. The doctor mumbled. He did not look into his son's eyes. That can't be. Sat down and covered his face with his hands. Better go to your wife. She's having a hard time too, the doctor advised him. Billy remembered about Katie and rushed to the neighboring ward. She was lying on the bed. Some apparatuses were attached to her. Sweetheart, how are you doing? Asked her inconsolable husband. How is your father doing? She asked practically with only one lip. He's dead, he didn't think, and said Billy. At this point, Kathy felt so bad she couldn't contain herself. What did you say to her? At that moment, a nurse came running into the room. Sorry, the young man's eyes widened as he saw how bad his wife was feeling. He had been forced out of the room where labor had begun. Everyone feared a dire outcome because things were not going as well as they should have. What happened next, Billy didn't know. He didn't have the physical or emotional strength to bear it all. Two people he loved dearly were now in the hospital, and one could no longer be saved. He was sedated and taken to a room to get some rest. Daddy, wake up. Billy felt himself being pushed. Oh yeah, he couldn't figure out where he was. Congratulations, you have a daughter. Only now you won't be able to see your wife or child, because both are in intensive care. The nurse shocked him at once. What about them? His mind cleared up immediately. He remembered last night. The woman had a cesarean. Her blood pressure dropped and then went up a lot. And the baby is very weak, sick, she explained. Okay. Billy came to his senses completely. He decided that since there was no way to get to his wife and daughter now, he needed to take care of the father. He got ready, went home. His mother was in a state of distress. Where were you? Why didn't you answer the phone? What about Dad and Katie? She asked a lot of questions at once. She had circles under her eyes. It was obvious she hadn't slept. Mommy, sit down. He took her by the shoulders and put her in a chair. Woman tried not to listen to them. Yes, her life turned out the way it did, and she does not regret anything. Kolenka, run here. Ariana held out her hands to him when the boy began to run in the walker, and the boy ran to them. Now often the whole family vacationed here on their property, and everyone seemed to love each other. The one I thought was a poor kid turned out to be a millionaire, and the one I was sticking up for turned out to be a millionaire, Billy often said to Harry and Selena. Yes, it's interesting, you're my father and father-in-law, and Selena's father and father-in-law, Harry laughed. Billy had taught him a lot lately. Now the boy was doing as well as any businessman, but he still often turned to his father for help.